Great. A very merry good evening. I hope you can hear me well.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. It really smells a lot like summer. How many of you have already planned their vacations? To envy you a little bit. All right, there was not that many, but among those, how many plans involved more than, let's call it, one social unit, more than one family, more than one couple? My respect. My respect. Honestly, last year, we thought that perhaps it would be a great idea to meet on a neutral territory, and we chose Georgia. We thought that we from Poland would go there, and our in-laws would also go there. I gave up. After a month of this, I gave up. And that's why cross-team management matters. My name is Julia, and I work for Evolution, but I used to work for Andersen, and I do remember those times tenderly. Julia can prove. Currently, I'm at, okay, my contract says product delivery manager lead. Unofficially, it's simply delivery lead. And I am leading a department responsible for casino back office, compliance configurations, and regulatory requirements. Quite a lot, 7 teams, and yeah, pretty challenging. Honestly, I prepared some interactive activity, but please do not follow that because I was told there are more than 50 people registered. That is why we will skip it. I have only a free account and it will not cope with that load. And before we proceed with this part, I would like to agree with you that this won't be a lecture. Honestly, after a long working day, I'd rather it not be a monologue. I'd rather not be teaching you something. I would like you to actively participate in our discussion. By the way, we have online participants as well. So from time to time, I will check it on the telephone whether something is going on in chat. So thank you for your patience with me and with me peeping in the telephone. I hate it when my kids do it while I'm talking to them, but technology moves on, so we have to adjust. So many people signed up for this meetup. I am really pleased, but I believe it's not because of me. It's because of the topic. Why do you decided to listen about this? Why do you believe that cross-team management matters?
It's crucial.
Yes, it's really hard.
It pushes us to use non-typical approaches.
Compared to leading one team, what would be the difference?
Learn communication among different teams and to be on one step or follow one aim on the same level, with the same deadlines.
Cool. Indeed, when we have multiple teams, we can purely multiply all the issues we have with one team to the level of the teams you have. So it won't be like 7 teams and problem x multiplied by 7. It will be 7 times this problem. Multiple teams means multiple styles, multiple goals, multiple approaches, multiple priorities, and you have to manage it all. When there is no alignment, it's very difficult to make sure that the team don't work in silos, that they don't do extra work, that they don't have to redo. You have to guess a lot and make lots of assumptions, which sometimes are not true. And that's why it is so difficult. But why it is so important? Because we still want to deliver the value, right? It's simple. So cross-team management is not just about controlling the task from the very moment it was assigned or created to the moment it was delivered. It is about aligning the teams, many teams at a time. Throughout this session, I really would like us to cover these items However, if we step a little bit aside, I don't mind, as long as our conversation is interesting, productive, and engaging and active. So I do welcome you to participate. Definitely, we want to talk about how we can establish alignment among teams, how we can balance the priorities, how we can promote proper decision making so that it was clear to everyone involved. And I will share some world examples and practical tips. Unfortunately, like many of you, I am cuffed by NDA, so I can't reveal the real cases from my company. So I had to search a little bit. Maybe you are aware of the cases we will discuss, which is even better because then you can contribute in a more active way. If not, then maybe there will be something new for you. Okay, this diagram shows why it is so complex. We've already covered it. But maybe something is still surprising for you to be shown here. Or more or less you had the same vision of how cross-team management could look like. Unfortunately, it ends up here all the time. And it doesn't matter whether you have one, let's say, pair of teams, only two, or it is 7. Anybody having questions already?
Yes, I think because the separation between different goals and priorities, and communication and coordination challenges is misalignment of expectation, conflicting timelines and priorities. I think it's like also about the decision making also.
Well, that's true. I mean, we can play with that, but I wanted just to highlight how many aspects you face when you try to manage more than one team for one and the same project. And there we are with the first case study. Boeing 737 crisis. Anybody aware what it is about? Fantastic. Maybe you can give details so that it wasn't only me.
It was connected with the miscommunication between the developers, constructors of the particular plane. It was related to all maturities which were related to the way how exactly pilots were instructed on how exactly the plane works, and about everyone who bought Boeing as just shareholders, about the new planes and so on and so on. So basically, it ended in the case when something wasn't articulated well during the construction of the plane, and once everyone started to use the plane in usual flights, pilots weren't aware of one particular feature which was related to the way how the plane functions in one of the critical moments. I believe it was related either to the high or low
Nose position.
exactly one, but pilots weren't aware how exactly one of the features worked, and once the plane crashed, everything revealed. And this one of the cases where miscommunications were maybe crucial for the finance of Boeing, for the people's lives, for all the time pilots spent in order to know how exactly their plane works, and so on and so on.
Great, thank you very much. I will summarize it all for the online listeners to be aware as well. It was in 2007 and 8, and Boeing wanted to compete with Airbus. So they delivered a software. It took me quite a long to remember this abbreviation, Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, that was responsible for the plane nose direction. depending on the situation. And indeed, as Evgeny said, pilots were not instructed properly. There was big misalignment because Boeing pushed for this time to market. They didn't reveal all the details to Federal Aviation Bureau, and they approved of that. And like it was said, it ended up in two fatal crashes, unfortunately, with victims. It ended in big grounding for Boeing 737 and definitely a great big spot on their reputation, saying nothing about financial losses. Thank you very much. To have a better view why it happened, the whole team involved wasn't fully aware. What they saw was this. They knew they had to do it quickly. They knew the features they were developing, and they knew the communication to the public. There was a burden hanging above them, like, we promised, we have to do, we have some goal to reach. Meanwhile, under the surface were all those issues. They knew they had risks, but they didn't inform everyone who was supposed to be informed. Compliance team lacked visibility for final approving. Leadership prioritized, surprise, surprise, competitive timelines. And this aviation bureau wasn't fully informed about that. Definitely, it all was accompanied by insufficient testing, internal warnings, but we have what we have. Ideally, for such a case, project manager would choose root cause analysis. I don't know about you, but in our company, we even have a specially dedicated JIRA ticket type, root cause analysis, with fixed mandatory fields to fill. It shouldn't be that complicated. The simple technique of 5 whys could also help here. And if we run it properly, well, actually, there is no need for me to repeat everything because we had it prettily covered. So I will simply visualize it all for you. Yes, there were 3 groups of issues. There were misaligned goals, there were communication failures, and in my personal opinion, communication should go first because it all starts with communication, and accountability gaps. When we lack one person with the final decision, it can lead to issues as well. Any questions as per the tool of root cause analysis and 5 whys? All right, we'll check here.
Translation just telling you have a gap.
Oh.
Half a minute. So
Okay.
I will inform you.
All right, thank you very much. Then I will not peep myself. We'll wait for your signal. Cool. Okay, to address each issue or challenge, some of project management strategies can be used. Not necessarily this. If any of you is subscribed to Agile Lab, a company that provides training, and you receive their newsletters, the number of methodologies, techniques, tools, etc., is growing every day. You simply can't get acquainted with them all. So you don't necessarily even have to use them all, but you should definitely agree with your team how you will inform all stakeholders. So for misaligned goals, for example, we can run joint OKR planning sessions, workshops, but from the very beginning, so that we didn't skip any important stakeholder. If we predict poor communication flow as managers, we definitely should establish mandatory cross-functional meetings, things whatsoever. If we worry about information flow going the wrong way, shared documentation, not necessarily detailed. And here I would stop and tell you one Small example from my company. We had a BA changing the teams, and when he joined this new one, he was constantly pinged by all stakeholders. Can you share the status? Can you share the status? Can you share the status? He was really so tired of that he compiled everything he knew about the initiative the team leads on one wiki page. And he says, yes, it takes me half an hour every week to update it. Maybe it is boring. Maybe it is not that interesting. Maybe I can find some other tasks to do. But it really saves me so much time from not answering each and every ping in Slack. I simply redirect them to the page. It is pinned to the Teams channel description, and I don't have to waste my time on that anymore. Decision bottlenecks. And here, this famous RESI matrix comes. There are lots of variations of it. I'm sure you are aware, and everyone can choose what works for them. And if we have lack of escalation, definitely we should sit down and work on that. I first saw the risk register 5 years ago, and I'm still using it with all those plan A, trigger, plan B stuff. And for all this time, it has never betrayed me. But yes, it takes time. Now, a question. If something similar happened in your team, do you now think you would be able to prevent it?
Once that's already happened. Or
If it happened, okay, if it was about to happen and you were leading this team, do you think you would be able to prevent it?
You're talking about boring?
About something similar. I'm not a big fan of victims, so, but something similar.
But all the steps you already described were used. The same, maybe a little bit another way, another names, but it's still like escalation of the misalignment and understanding and risk escalation quite similar.
Cool. How many of you keep with?
Sometimes the managers from the parallel departments just don't want to figure out the specific of your work and don't want to hear you. And especially when it's some kind of blockers or some kind of things that delaying the process, that stops the process, and they pushing you to do everything urgently because there's you only you running slow, but the process. But if you understand that there's it influences to users' data or users' health or another important thing, you should do everything slow but
Precise.
precise. Yeah.
So true. By the way, I forgot about this. So maybe you will be also responsible for sharing it with people who are speaking. Thank you very much. Delegation is our everything. How many of you, by the way, use risk register in this or that form? Cool. I believe we are ready to move on to the next case study. Google Wave. How many of you are acquainted with this one? All right. It was supposed to be a success. It was supposed to be a tremendous success, to be honest. How many of you use Slack now? Do you use it for only messaging? or you use all the integrations it currently allows to have, all those Jira notifications, integration with calendars, Canvas, I don't know what else it can do, scheduled messages. I believe it can do everything. And after the integration with Salesforce, I'm even scared what they will offer in the years to come. So actually, Google Wave was supposed to be that. Back again in 2008, it seems that 2008 was the year of unsuccessful projects, so to say. Back in 2008, at one of the Google conventions, Google Wave was presented. It was supposed to be, as I said, a great big monster capable of satisfying all the needs. It was supposed to be a shared document, a messenger, a collaboration tool. And it was offered by the team who already was successful by introducing Google Maps. So everyone believed it would be fantastic. It was very promising. Yet the communication was confusing. And in 2009, when internal introduction began, they already faced some issues. People didn't understand, first of all, how to integrate with that, then how to use it and what for. Engineering was pushing, and that's actually a great example of the famous gold plating, because engineering were trying to implement everything they could at that moment, while users were sitting like, okay, and what are we supposed to do with that? The invitations were individual, similar to gmail.com email first beta version. I don't think any of you had it back then, but you could join Gmail only by invitation before 2005, I guess. So, my God, I'm so mature. So yeah, and when in 2010 the leadership stopped the project, no one was surprised. The adoption rate was very poor, even though it was that promising. Maybe it was not timely, but perhaps it wasn't managed properly. And for this, I personally would choose the post-mortem analysis. Are you aware of that? Definitely. It can be structured as a general retrospective, what went well, what didn't, what we can do differently, what we can improve, and what we should stop forever. So what really was great? Collaboration among engineering. They definitely wanted to push their product. They were talented. No one would doubt it. They managed to create this initial excitement. But then it ceased away, unfortunately, because there wasn't shared vision. People didn't understand why they are doing that. There was a great presentation led by Andersen, UI UX designer, about why design is important. Also having some really critical examples, landing with crashes, unfortunately, but I believe people don't learn until they hit something. And yeah, here was same story. UX was not clear. What should I do? Where should I press? How can I join the team? There are lots of articles on the internet definitely dedicated to this case. So I believe it would be really interesting just to look through. What could be done differently? Involving more people to help you create the vision, validation of user stories, use cases, and in general, the necessity of implementation of such things. And definitely we should also remember that what engineering want does not necessarily mean what users need. And yeah, I have to admit, we face the same issue in our company. We had a request for a huge internal product that would satisfy the needs of our compliance teams, of our commercial teams, and we had engineering actually delivering it. And engineering knew the details. They knew some technical obstacles that they won't be able to overcome anyway. So without consulting further, they decided that if they do what they can do, everyone will have it. No, we had to redo things. Things happen, but that was a lesson. Okay. One more canvas table tool that you can use. Turning opportunities. Yeah, we tend not to call problems, we call them opportunities, into solutions. I will just read the very first one for those who sit behind, and maybe it's more challenging for them to read this. If users don't understand the UI, we definitely see that there should be some clarity in features. What we can do, we can introduce progressive onboarding, at least for those early adopters, because those were internal, it was easy to do, and simpler informational architecture. Who can contribute to that? Design and product. So very simple, but if people sit down and actually take their time to proper analysis before running, it might eliminate the number of mistakes. Our famous RESI matrix define who could be responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed when any decision is taken about the new product. Okay, and now that you are aware of everything, what do you think can be done differently?
In both cases, or the second one?
We are talking about this Google Wave only. Boeing is left behind with the...
The big leak of product vision from the start to the end, to be honest, and this is like the most obvious and clear problem here. So I'm not agree to like argue with that engineers destroyed this product. I think it's just product management, product vision, or understanding really what user need on first iteration, second iteration, and so on. Maybe that's the case. And I think, yes, that's all.
Cool, thank you.
Maybe it was too complicated. Maybe it's better approach such big projects like start from the MVP and then step by step follow to some complications.
I also approve of such approach. Like first I do something small, which is not risky for me in terms of time, money, efforts, etc., and simply see where the people need it at all. Or maybe it is like...
We don't know about like product fit. We don't know the marketing strategy. We don't know end user, so we don't.
Yes, definitely. It's just a high-level case for us to discuss. And sure enough, it is easy to analyze afterwards.
Of course.
But nevertheless, people are just people, and they're like we are discussing about such a big giants, but I believe we all faced like smaller, like medium enterprises that failed, and they're like a lot of money wasted.
As I said, I chose these cases because I had similar ones. We are all human beings, that's true.
Yeah.
The most important thing is to learn by mistakes and to introduce some improvements. We definitely reviewed all the documentation. We reviewed the way we communicate to our stakeholders. Yulia wanted to add something.
A few more comments, like competitors analysis also could be helpful in such situation. Of course, in 2008, I think there were not lots of them, but at the same time, there were some. Analyze their features, what they use mostly, what users use mostly. And I guess some focus groups. I agree with previous speakers that publish some MVP and then create some focus group of real users and has some maybe UAT testing would really help and save lots of money for the future, because it's definitely not a good idea to develop everything
And
just
enroll at once.
Yeah, and just use it. So step by step is definitely the best option here, how to move.
Cool. Thank you. So to summarize, the product vision could be co-created early. Like, we definitely need input from more people than one team only. Validate before you build. That's why MVP is so popular among managers. Balance innovation with usability. No need to implement everything you know at once. Let people, I don't know, start needing it, like in relationship. Tease them a bit. Establish cross-functional rituals. Make sure that you double check with people who can help you, who can contribute, who can do some cross review. Yes, managers also need some cross review from time to time. Don't be scared to reach out to your colleagues and ask for help. And define who owns what. If it is vision, then for vision, this person is responsible, or a team. If it is delivery, then they're one, etc., etc. Okay. Case study number 3. Are you not tired yet? Okay, timing is good. And actually the year, just let me check. But yeah, the year is again 2008. It's only now that I am thinking, actually, maybe it's not accidental that I chose all the case studies from that year. My son was born that year, and I believe he is a pretty successful project, by the way. So, Heathrow Terminal 5 opening. Again, it was supposed to be a huge success. Anybody aware of what happened there? To begin with, construction-wise, it was a success. It was delivered on time and on budget. For a construction project, that's really something extraordinary. It was around £4 billion project, and everybody was happy. They were planning the big opening. It was supposed to cater around 30 million people annually, which is quite a big amount. But the very first weeks, what they had, 28,000 baggage lost, 500 flights cancelled, and the very first week, 1 week only, cost them 16, okay, I always mix up billion, million, I believe billion pounds loss because of all those issues. And that baggage backlog, well, lasted for almost a month for them. What happened? As I said, it was a launch day chaos. Lost bags, canceled flights. Why? Just, yes, similar story. Everybody thought that some other team is taking care of that. The staff was not trained, and even though the building itself was perfect, the software integration was missing some details. No one ran this end-to-end testing. No one was involved properly in the decision making, because again, we had this concern. The public was promised to have this terminal, everybody was waiting, so the authority decided that, okay, we can go as is. Poor coordination, no worries, off we go. Root causes. Now I believe it's pretty easy. because I named them, only formulated in a different way. Mhm. Anybody willing to comment on that maybe at this time? Everybody's shocked. Well, actually, when I was choosing the cases, I, on the one hand, was surprised, like Britain, they seem almost like Germans to me, in case of this punctuality, pedantism, and I was not sure if I would be able to explain properly what actually happened. I hope I managed. Everything is clear, the chronology, what was wrong.
That we have, it may be quite close to the most relevant case. Have you checked out Amazon show from Jeremy Clarkson? He was in Top Gear, one of presenters from
And
Britain.
I know who
so-
he is, but I'm not
yeah.
aware of this case.
After they dropped this show, they had exclusive rights to create a new show on Amazon, Grand Tour. And after that, all of those presenters had exclusive show for each of one. And one of those, Jeremy Clarkson, created a show about his farm in Britain. And in the last season, he just opened a pub. So it's quite similar to the same situation. Everyone knows how to run pubs. Everyone else also opened pub, and it worked. And everything is quite similar. They have the same IT infrastructure, the same software, the same type of people who work in such positions in these pubs and so on and so on. And he just had some constructions, he just renewed it a bit. And once everything started, in the day of the start of the work of the pub, everything just flushed away, all his expectations regarding how exactly it will be working. And since he's quite influential as a person in Britain, a lot of guests visited him in the first 3 days. He just notified everybody in Twitter or something like, I'm opening a pub, everyone can visit. And everything weren't working, even the water. They cannot serve food. They cannot serve water. A lot of staff just dropped after 2 days. Even 2 persons who assisted him in the opening as managers, they dropped everything. And in the 3rd day, he was just managing it himself with another teacher from local school. She was like going everywhere with walkie-talkie, trying to navigate people and so on and so on. Everything is the same. Everyone knows the precision, the documentation is the same, everything is the same. But once you're trying to do it in short period of time, and once everyone is pushing everything without clear communications and cross-team communication, everything is flashes away once you are started the progress after everything was seeming to well working after all.
Yeah, so true. You are telling, and I'm just
flashbacks.
Imagining how I would feel in his shoes. It would be terrible.
Yep.
It would be terrible.
So it's not about risk management. It's about simple fate.
Yep. Also. Also.
Well, I would say that it is still lack of communication. Because communication can take lots of forms, and knowledge sharing is also part of communication. Aligning on goals is part of communication. But okay, we will summarize it a little bit later. We are very, very close to it. So what we can do differently, again, just a few tools to share. And again, that doesn't mean you should use those and nothing else, but we can reformat our RESI matrix to DESI matrix and decide who drives, approves, consults, informs. Or we can use rapid matrix, and it's about recommend, agree, perform, I forgot, and decide. But if you Google, you will remember it. Pre-mortem, just similar to that post-mortem analysis, but you imagine what might go wrong before it actually goes wrong. And you start investigating why it can go wrong. Scenario simulation. I mean, we tend to role play all the time. We put on masks when we come to work and play good performers. We play good family members. Why don't we play the roles and run all these scenarios from the very beginning till the very end? This would help a lot by simply, not necessarily in real life, but at least in our head, like, okay, I do this, I take this, I click here, it should respond this way. If we do this even mentally, I believe a lot of issues could be solved. Readiness checklist, and definitely not a single person should create this one alone. Decision logs and rituals, documentation, documentation, documentation. Not necessarily word for word, but the main items definitely should be fixed and shared. And for managers, it is easy to remind people on agreements. Like, remember, we fixed it. Yes.
I wanted to add one point here is just separation of the utilization, just because if you deploying anything and you deploying it for entire capability, you just cursed to fail, just because when you implementing your system and you planning to that it will cover all 100 persons of your needs, anyway it will be overloaded, just because the new product, nobody knows how it works, or just a lot of people who interested by the product but not plan to use it in future. And you should to plan this risk and to make some gap, some safe zone for to avoid these problems. Just because in gaming industry or in some concert entertainment industry, when you just booking or planning to buy the tickets to some show, to some festival, anyway you should to stay in the queue, because all the sites just ruined down, and it anyway how as much it wouldn't organized, anyway works nothing, and you have to wait for an hour for hours to buy your ticket.
Yep, that's true. I also like taking some buffer and coming in time rather than being late. Okay. And now I would like to share the templates I use on a daily basis. So I will start with the risk register. That is the one that goes with me for, as I said, more than 5 years already, and it works. I fill in each line, and it brings me incredible satisfaction to mark those lines green when I close that risk. I love it most of all. Then for team planning, usually teams in our company are responsible for more than one product. So that is why we do it this way. I list them definitely. I name which product this deliverable is related to, what deliverable exactly, what milestones we plan to achieve, what dependencies, and there I do tag people, not just writing the name of the team, but exact people, so that they could see that I watch them on this page as well. Impediments that we are already aware of, and each month, because we have quarterly plannings, each month I fill in the status with comments definitely. That doesn't mean that we deliver everything we plan. No. But that creates transparency, and our stakeholders are aware, okay, I can expect this, I can rely on this, and here I'm aware that I have to come up with some other replacement. For cross-team planning, if we have one initiative run by many teams, the template would be different. And I don't think I have to read all the items. I'm not sure. Will we be able to share the presentation as a file with people? So you will be able to read it later on. And if you have questions, there was my LinkedIn. You can reach out and I will explain what I meant by this. Okay. Actually, that's the final but one slide. And the key takeaways from this meeting, which I actually wanted to deliver. The main ideas I wanted to cover. I hope I succeeded in that. So alignment must be intentional and confirmed. It shouldn't be just assumed. Even great initiatives can fail, no matter how great world-class talents you have. And we had really great examples from major leaders in the market who still didn't meet their goals. What can help? Shared plannings, kickoffs, and constant informing people about what is going on, whether we agree, whether everyone is looking in one and the same direction. Communication should be a system, again, not an assumption. As I said, those simple project management information system, be it a not fancy wiki page, a Slack channel, but where you can definitely say that you have the agreement, you have confirmation, is a great thing. Invest in analysis, empathy canvas, end-to-end scenario testing, discussion, interviews, whatever. Do dedicate some time for that. And it definitely should be a cultural fit. If people don't feel safe to voice up their concerns, everything we were discussing is in vain. Because if they are scared to tell you about issues, most probably you will overlook them. So it should be a culture. You should create a safe culture for your people to speak to you, to inform you if something is happening, even if it is in that story where the boy cried wolf. Let it be. But at least you will have a chance to react. Okay. Oh, there was supposed to be one more slide. I mean, it was not my slide. I was asked to, and it was.
I don't know.
Who stole it?
Nope. But there was a slide. There was a slide with QR codes. Okay.
It was in the video?
No, those were single ones, but there was a pretty slide not made by me. I was only asked to add it. I'm 100% sure that my file had it. Just give me a sec. I now have to check. Where is? I definitely had it. Sent. I'm thinking whether I'll be able to share it this way. Yes, I have it. Do you think I can share it?
Our translation managers send it to the translation, so you can scan it by our YouTube link.
Can you please somehow make it appear here?
Yep. wait a sec.
Yes, please do. Thank you for saving us.
People in chat just jokes that miscommunication.
I wouldn't call it because there was only one file which we shared. So see, it's
That's case number 4.
yep. Okay, while it's loading, I will tell you what the links actually are.
The translation has been cancelled. Sorry.
Um,
Hope for the best, but
Yeah.
prepare for the worst.
there it is.
Here is.
Thank you very much. Okay, so the links on the sides. The first one will lead you to. While it's loading, I will tell you what the links actually are. Can we please stop me from speaking there? I hate hearing my voice. Yep. So the first link will lead you to Instagram, and I do encourage you to join Andersen community. There are lots of great resources, more announcements on similar events. Pretty similar one you will find on the very last one. It would lead you to Telegram. And in the middle, the most important one for me, there you can share your feedback, which they all promised to share with me as well. So I'm really interested in you following the very middle one. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Appreciate it.
And I was also advised to invite you to enjoy pizza and other stuff. And we still have some time to do networking. Tomorrow is a day off. So
Can I ask a couple of questions?
definitely.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for this. And then I have a question about risk register. I wanted to elaborate on this because in my practice, we did have a risk register, but we actually identified risks and even owners. But I think the problem that we never actually updated it, and it was like it was made just to be in our Confluence, but we never really worried about this. So I'm just wondering, what is your approach and processes for working with risk registers? Do you have any regular meetings? Maybe how do you identify owners of this risk? So just
As I'm leading the department, I have more freedom here.
Mhm.
I keep my own risk register and I decide myself what to do with it. It was my initiative to have it. So I do dedicate some time once every 2 weeks, not weekly, but every 2 weeks, I run through it and see if anything requires my attention there. If I can't solve the issue myself, I definitely will go and escalate it. I do not share it with my manager because there are some sensitive issues like internal people conflicts or whatever. And this I also have to address. But again, it was my initiative. I know that it brings value to me. That is why I keep it. If you have many people responsible, you can discuss who will own it, actually. Just like the feature is owned by the team, you can decide, okay, from now on, you will be responsible for this register, and you have to make sure that we act on those, that we review it, make sure it is still relevant. We might close those risks. We might come up with some other plan, but someone definitely, as you said, it's not like everyone assumes that another person will do it. No, it should be clearly communicated. Okay, we have a risk register and you are the owner. It does not necessarily have to be a project manager, by the way. It can be a QA, it can be a business analyst.
Understand. Thank you. And I have another question. It's about like this gaps and miscommunication within teams. I realize that if you don't establish processes at the very beginning, then it's very hard to fix those gaps in communication, and it becomes a mess. So I'm just wondering, do you have a kind of starter kit where with some documents, maybe meetings, processes that you usually have for your projects when you join them?
You've touched a very tricky issue, to be honest. Right now, I am merging two teams to divide them with different composition. And yes, every week we are now running sessions about processes. And it's challenging. And I invite everyone to contribute. The trickiest issue is that people don't talk. They don't talk in front of management, but you catch some gossips and rumors after the meeting, which is the scariest. So we try to agree and document everything. Like, okay, we will use this. We will use this. What rituals take place in this team? Do they work? No. Why? What rituals are in place here? Do they work? Why? I hope it will lead us. We set ourselves a timetable of 3 months. But yes, it is based on communication and agreement. Team agreements work the best. If you invite everyone to contribute to those team agreements, people tend to commit to them more because they kind of created them. It was their idea to introduce this, and they had a chance to oppose to it. So
Okay.
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we tend to document things. And I know that Agile is against detailed documentation. We don't require detailed one, but we require it being fixed and agreed so that at least we could refer to it and say, okay, but we've agreed to have daily meetings every day. We've agreed that PDM will participate in them. So if you break those agreements, that means someone has to react.
No, I just want to maybe suggest for first situation about this many some documentation for to manage this documentation. Sometimes if you haven't any new problems and it still work fine, best engineering practice says us don't touch it. So
well, that's also true, yeah.
Yes, this is also like if you don't need some updates to this management, you haven't faced with new risks, with new problem. Don't spend your time and spend anyone time.
Leave it alone.
You leave it alone.
Okay. Anything else?
Thank you for your time.
My pleasure, honestly.
Take.
Thank you. And yeah, something is still waiting for us there.
You have really enthusiastic approach.